Now, if I'm properly aligned, now Kiran will try and lift me. See? It's heavy, right? In fact, I can sink him, If I sink,
I was just training with Master Yap and he was sharing his knowledge about the sunken elbow that's found in the internal arts. This is commonly found in arts like Tai Chi, Xingyi Bagua, but also in the southern systems like Southern Shaolin and White Crane, even Wing Chun. So I thought it'd be nice for us to turn on the camera and maybe for Master Yap to share some of this knowledge with all the viewers that's watching this video. So Master Yap, if it's okay with you, maybe you could give a brief demonstration and explanation about what you understand with the sinking elbow.
Yeah, sure. I'll be more than happy to. Okay, let's start with a bit of theory, then we'll do some demonstration and exercises. Now, I come from a Southern Shaolin tradition. My main art is Wuzuquan, which is 5 ancestors' fist. Now, in our theory, the human body is divided into 3 parts: the legs, the torso, which can be up to the head, and the arms, you see. And the sunken elbow basically means I must be able to connect my arm to my torso, to my legs, so that I have this complete chain for the transmission of energy. If my hands are not connected, then my elbows cannot be heavy because I'm just relying on the strength of my arms and not the rooting that comes on the feet, you see. But if I can connect the rooting all the way up to my shoulders, my elbows, and my hands, then my elbows can be heavy. So that's the main point. Now, number 2 is, we have a saying, you see, if your elbow is not heavy, your hands cannot be heavy. That means that you cannot deliver power here when you're not anchored at the elbow. Now, having said that, having heavy elbows or being anchored at the elbow doesn't mean that my elbow is stuck in this position. Once you have mastered the technique of sinking the elbow, my elbow can float and can be anywhere, yet it remains connected and I can deliver power from any angle, So that is the main point, right? And again, I emphasize, is the ability to connect your arms to the rest of the structure. Now, the third point is, in our teaching methodology, I especially emphasize a lot on what we call the strings. Now, the strings are your fascia connection from your toes all the way up to the shoulders, and from the shoulders to the arms. Now, from your anatomy, you'll notice that to connect the legs to the torso is this point here, which we call the qua. Also, known in Tai Chi. So the qua is a point that allows your legs to connect to the torso. That means you can connect the fascia chain from your legs to your torso. And the point that connects your torso to your arms is this point here in front of your shoulder. And correspondingly, you have the point here at the back for the qua. And you have the corresponding point here for the hands, which goes along this line. So once you can connect those lines, or in Tai Chi terms, they use the term opening, but I think I prefer the word connection. If you connect those points, then you can deliver energy from the legs and the torso to the arms. If you cannot connect these 2 points, for example, then all you have is the energy that you can generate your arms and not the body, your torso and your legs, you see, right? Now, the most common way of keeping the elbow sunken, so-called, is to keep it down and close to the body. So you find this in a lot of Southern Shaolin arts, right? Where they keep the elbows here, okay? Instead of letting it open like this. And just the physical positioning of doing this helps the elbow stay connected, okay? Now, one of the most important posture, or you can even call it exercise, to sink the elbow is this, okay? I can be in any stance. I can be in this stance, I can be in this stance, it doesn't matter. But the important thing is to do this. And you see this in all the Shaolin forms. And you probably wonder, why do they do something like this? because this posture actually helps you to learn how to bring the shoulder blades in, right? And you then learn to sink the shoulder blades, or rather press your elbows down. And in doing so, you connect your arms right down to the strings, you see. Now, I'll demonstrate. Now, perhaps I face this way. What I'll do is, Kiran, you lift my elbow, you know, as I do this, right? Now, if I do it okay, I'll just show the correct position first. This has to be horizontal. I must pull my fist back such that it's on this midline here, okay? Now, if I'm wrong, let's say I'm in this position, right? Or I'm further down. Okay, let's say start here. Now, you try and lift, pull me up. See, I'll just tip over, right? If I'm lower down, yeah, no, just the elbow. No, do it right at the tip of the elbow. Yeah, yeah. See, it's very hard for me. If I try to scrunch down, let's say, I'll still float, because my arms are just not connected to my fascia and strings. Now, if I do it correctly, okay, now you do it. Use your whole palm.
No.
Yeah, see?
It feels like I'm lifting your entire body now.
Yeah. See, you can try and lift my entire body. I'm only 70 kilos. Right? Yeah. So that is what you mean by sunken elbows. You sink and connect to your root. Of course, you must have the root. If you don't have the root, then it doesn't, doesn't make sense. Okay? So that's what the sunken elbow is. Now, once you're used to having the elbow in this position, then you learn to put it into this position. So in the case of five ancestors, we do this. I guess in the case of Wing Chun, you do this, right? Or you punch. Or in a white crane, we do this. So it's all here. And you don't want your elbow to be outside the shoulder. Again, I can demonstrate this, you see. If my elbow is here, okay, I can use a fist, doesn't matter, okay, palm. Now, if I'm properly aligned, now Kiran will try and lift me. See, it's heavy, right? In fact, I can sink him, You use both arms, yeah, see, if I sink, right, yeah. But if it goes out of position a bit, you see, I'm no longer connected, and you see, I'm floating already, right? Okay, so this position is important, right? Okay, that's why we try to, in Southern Shaolin, we keep the elbow within the shoulder line, this way, and not this way. So when we punch, even, we don't punch like this, right? We punch from here, or with a twist. This is how we normally punch, very much like the karate style, okay? Or if it's with a vertical fist, here, okay? So always it comes from here. Once you go to here, you do this, you lose it. Because if you just do that, see, if I'm in this stance, see, I cannot generate power at all, right? I can even throw my whole weight behind it. That doesn't work. But once I can bring this in, I can press down, boom, right? So just with this, right, I don't need to use any body movement. I can just generate from the fascia, it goes out, okay? Now, that is one part of it. Now, once you have learned how to feel that connection, once you got that joint figured out or open in the Tai Chi metaphor, then I can afford to let my elbow wander. Okay, before we go there, let's say we come back to here, right? You try and lift my elbow. Now, so long as I keep it within this width, right? Now, you put pressure on me. See, I can go up, I can go down, I can go in, I can go out. So long as I keep it within my shoulder range. Once I go out of it, there, I'll start to lose it, right? So it's important to keep it within. But like I say, this doesn't mean I have to be rigid there, you see. I can actually move my elbow around within this boundary, all right? Yeah. And then if I move it to the center here, then I can still sink it, right? You can try and lift. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no. Yeah, right? So that is what we mean by sunken elbow, right? So in the beginning, you must first learn how to sink this. And then stage 2 is learn to keep it and allow it to move within this boundary. Then at the third level, let's say this is beginner level, right? This is intermediate level. And then advanced level means you can then allow it to open up. So again, in this case here, I'm rooted. So now you can lift. I can allow my elbow to now go out all the way until here. But I don't want to let it go above my shoulder. Right? So yeah, so from here, see, you can try and lift. See, I'm still sunken because I've managed to control this so that it's still connected to my structure. You can try and lift.
No, I can't lift
Yeah?
it from here.
Yeah, see? And then I can just sink it, right? Yeah. All right? So then that would be the third stage where you then have the ability to do this, you see. But this is at the advanced level. You must learn to be able to feel and connect your fascia so that then you can allow your arm to still move freely, but still have the heaviness here. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is having the heaviness here so that you can have the heaviness here. Again, if Kiran was to put his hand here, this one just feel, okay? And this, you push me up with this one. Now, in this case, you can feel, right? I'm not heavy here.
It doesn't feel heavy at the elbow, no.
No, I haven't sunk my elbow yet. Okay? Now you give me up resistance. See, I cannot sink him down because you feel, right? This is not heavy.
Just a lot of force here.
Yeah. So I'm treating this as one piece, you see, although I'm bent. So I might as well be doing this, you see, because there's no weight here, right? Now you feel the difference now. I put weight into this. Right?
Now it's very heavy.
Now you feel this heavy. And once this is heavy, then I can sing this. See? Right? So the same goes, you know. So if I have mastered the capability to put my elbow out here and keep it heavy, again, you put a hand here and here. See? This is not heavy, right? So now I try to press him down. See? I end up floating myself, or he can flip me over. Yeah, right? But once I can make this heavy, it doesn't have to be much. I'm not putting, you know, I'm not pressing down on him, right? This is pressing, and you can fight back.
Yes. Sure.
This is just sinking. It's a very light feeling, but you feel that you can't move it, right? Now when I have this, I now have this, you see?
Wow.
Yeah, even though my elbow's out here, you see? Right? So that is the principle behind it, you see? You cannot be heavy in the hands when you're not heavy in the elbow. Right? So this applies, say, in the Wing Chun principle, if we are doing like this, right? Let's say, yeah, I want to do my chain punch. Now, I'm not heavy here. If I do this, I will move, right? His force counters me. But if I can sink my elbow, now you push into me, see? This is now connected there. I'm quite loose here, you know? You can try to push into me, right? You feel the resistance is not here. This is still quite empty. If I'm rigid here...
Oh, now I have something I can use against you. Yes.
Right? So here, I'm still soft. I'm empty here, but I'm full here. Now you push against me, this is what's holding it, not here. Right? This and the rest of my structure. Now, from the sunken elbow, I then generate the Jing in here. You see?
Wow.
Yeah. Right?
The power is tremendous.
Yeah. So that is the secret, or rather the practical application of the sunken elbow. It doesn't mean that your arm is stiff, you see. So again, it comes to here, right? Now you try to move me around. See, my elbow is there. Now you try to move my arm. I can follow you. I'm sticking to you. But you notice my elbow stays there. And you try to push into me. Okay? You can't, right? And this is soft, right? And then now when I put the Jing in, because when it's heavy, what it means is my Jing from the feet is already there. It's just waiting there. So for me, it's just to go boom. It goes out, right? I just have to release. Similarly, even if I'm on the inside, right? So long as this holds, he can move me around. But can you come in and try and, see, you can't.
There's no way to enter. No.
Yeah, no way to enter, right? So from here, I just, right? So just down. Okay, so having the heaviness here means you have the Jing here, ready to release, you see. If you don't have the heaviness here, then you have to probably bring it up all the way from the feet. By the time, it may be too slow or too late, you know, if the other guy is faster than you. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the misconceptions about the sunken elbow is people try to put as much weight as possible into this area.
No, it's not about the weight. You see, if I put weight into this, right, I try to, go this, right? Now, yes, I can generate power here, but it gives him something to work with, you see. See, Kiran can work with this. I may be strong this way, right? But he can move me that way.
Yes.
So all he has to, see, right? So it's not about putting weight. And secondly, if I put weight here, you just let go. I tip over, right? So it is totally not practical. So sinking the elbow doesn't mean doing this, I'm doing this. See, again, you can push me easily. It means connecting your fascia, having your roots, connecting your fascia, and it could be as relaxed as this there. Yeah? And now I fasting. Yeah, it's just that.
See, for me, being on the receiving end, the moment that you sink your elbow, I feel a connection that runs all the way through the arm.
Yeah.
And it's the connectivity that I'm feeling there.
That's
and then the energy moves through that.
Yeah,
You see.
that's right. So, yeah, and you feel this part is still relatively empty, but it's already connected, right?
Yes, it's not stiff at all.
Yeah, it's not stiff.
No.
It's flexible. And then it's a matter of just turning on the switch, you see, and letting the energy flow out. I can do it fast or I can do it slow, you see. So if I'm here, okay, I've sunk my elbow, you can move my hand around, see, right? Now in this case, I do it slow. So there.
Yeah, there it goes.
Right? Yeah. So if I move around, yeah, you can move me around. See, I'm holding. He can try and press into me. He cannot enter into my structure. Now I do it fast. Right? Yeah.
Master Yap, if you wouldn't mind,
Yeah.
would you be able to show the release towards the camera to show when the elbow is still sunk, but you're releasing out into space?
Yeah.
Just to show how that
So
looks.
from here, first you of course have to maintain your root and your strings, which is what we normally do. So this is, when we root, it's still soft. This can move, you see. And I can be moving like this, and suddenly, right, I don't have to wind up because I'm already wound up, you see. So when I'm doing this, this is heavy. So when I need to release, it's just there. I don't have to bounce. I don't have to twist. So I can do this very quickly and very, effectively and without getting too tired, because it's just like rubber bands working, I don't have to go, ugh. No, it's just here, bang, bang, and, that sort of thing.
That's excellent. Well, thank you. That really explains why the sunken elbow is emphasized so much in all these arts. And I really appreciate you sharing that knowledge with everyone.
Yeah,
So-
you're welcome. And you notice as I move, I try to keep my elbows in, you see, right? Of course, in some of the forms, like the crane forms, then you have the more open movements, like this, right? Then, yeah. But most of the time, we do want to keep it in, you see. But we do have movements where we go from here, out, in, yeah. Yeah. Okay? Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.